As high winds hit Britain, record heat continues to torment Europe. While fires rage in Spain, Italians are warned to stay indoors as much of southern Europe is forecast to top 40 degrees. Also tonight, calls for a ban on disposable vapes by next year. Councils say they harm children and the environment.
Nowadays, it's more common to vape and use disposable vapes.
Some people really use that as a coping mechanism.
It is what it is. If they do it, I think people would just automatically buy the refillable ones.
Unseeded Marketa Vondrousova takes the Wimbledon women's final in straight sets. And the whodunit at Agatha Christie's house, as dozens of visitors are told they can't leave.
This is ITV News with Rebecca Barry.
Good evening. Southern Europe is braced for more record-breaking temperatures this weekend as a heatwave there intensifies. 16 cities in Italy are under red alerts for extreme heat, including Rome, Florence and Bologna. In Greece, it's reached 40 degrees Celsius, forcing the authorities to close the Acropolis in Athens for a second day. Meanwhile, in Spain, wildfires have broken out in the tinder-dry conditions, and there are fears more could be sparked across the continent. Neil Connery reports.
On the Canary island of La Palma, wildfires are ripping through a forest, forcing the evacuation of 500 people. Drought conditions in the heat are helping to spread the flames. More than 140 hectares have been destroyed so far, along with 11 homes. Italy is facing extreme heat, with temperatures threatening to break records. Red alerts have been issued in 16 cities. People are being advised to avoid direct sunlight between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Temperatures are forecast to rise to 43 degrees Celsius in Rome and up to 47 in Sardinia. Greece has hit over 40 degrees Celsius again today. The Acropolis has been closed during the hottest hours to protect visitors. Some needed help as the sweltering heat did its worst.
It is really hot, but we came prepared. We have water, we have some ventilators, so we made ourselves to the heat. And I think it's always an amazing experience to be here.
In Turkey, authorities have been battling a series of wildfires amid rising temperatures in Muğla province next to the Aegean Sea. One village was evacuated as efforts to fight the fires continue.
You get what's called a heat dome, which means it sits there like we've got over the Mediterranean at this moment in time in North Africa, and it sits there and it doesn't go anywhere fast. It doesn't get interrupted very easily. And so these temperatures start to move upwards commensurately day by day and until you reach the peaks that we're seeing.
The heat wave is creeping up into the Czech Republic, with temperatures reaching 37 degrees Celsius. Scientists say climate change means we're going to see more extreme heat events like Europe is now suffering. Neil Connery, ITV News.
Meanwhile, back here, we've seen some wild weather, including strong winds and sudden downpours. Many events were cancelled today, including the Summer Streets Festival in Sunderland, the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and queuing for on-the-day tickets to Wimbledon was not allowed. A wind warning remains in place for the south of England and Wales until midnight. There are calls for disposable vapes to be banned in the UK by next year. Local authorities in England and Wales say single-use e-cigarettes are almost impossible to recycle. They also raise concerns about the impact of vaping on children and young people, as Charlie Frost reports.
Built to be used for a few hundred puffs and then thrown away.
Yeah, those two are the best sellers.
Disposable vapes are supposed to help people quit smoking. But if councils in England and Wales have their way, they'll be banned by next year.
Cash or card? Please.
In Twee's shop, disposable vapes make up 30% of her sales. Perhaps surprisingly, she'd back a ban, she says, for environmental reasons.
I'm a vape shop. I sell devices, I sell liquids, I help people give up smoking. That just became, you know, an easy way for people to start, but then they will move away from a bar to a device.
But it's precisely the convenience of the disposable e-vape that the local government association says is leading to 1.3 million being thrown away every week.
Nowadays, it's more common to vape and use disposable vapes, so a lot of people would cut down.
It is what it is. If they do it, I think people would just automatically buy the refillable ones.
The LGA say disposable vapes can also be a fire hazard because they're hard to recycle. The lithium batteries end up being crushed in bin lorries. But the UK Vaping Industry Association says they are recyclable, and cigarette butts are the biggest litter issue.
Smoking kills over 70,000 people in the UK every year. And it costs the NHS millions and millions of pounds. And what disposable vapes are proven to be is actually one of the, if not the single most successful smoking cessation tool that we have in the UK at the moment.
Concerns were also raised about the colourful packaging and fruity flavours appealing too strongly to children. This is something the government is already looking into. But with a ban coming in France later this year and the EU proposing one for 2026, local authorities in England and Wales say it's time to bin disposable vapes for good. Charlie Frost, ITV News.
Now, in the last few minutes, the Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, has announced he will stand down as an MP at the next election. Our political correspondent, Libby Vina, is here. Now, Libby, he joins a long list of Tories who are not standing at the next general election.
Yes, indeed. Well, there had been quite a lot of speculation about Ben Wallace's future before today because he'd made it known that he was interested in the top job at NATO. Well, he didn't get that. Jens Stoltenberg, the current incumbent, is staying on for another year. So I think he had already signalled that perhaps he was looking elsewhere in terms of his own future. But nevertheless, this is quite a surprise, the timing of this announcement. He has talked to the Sunday Times about how he sees the future and his concerns about how things are going in terms of aggressive nations outside Europe, China in particular, and of course the aggression of Vladimir Putin in Ukraine. He was known to have been quite unhappy before with the West's withdrawal from Afghanistan, and he fought very hard for the UK and other European countries to make a stand then. The Americans, though, had decided that it was in their interest to pull out, and Britain followed suit. So I think there have been various moments where he has been quite unhappy about the direction of policy, direction of our defence policy. Nevertheless, this is awkward timing for Rishi Sunak. We have 3 key by-elections this week, and I think it all adds to the impression that many people within the Conservative Party don't have confidence that Rishi Sunak can pull off an election victory next year.
Libby, thanks very much. Now, police in New York say they've solved a series of murders that happened more than a decade ago. After reopening the case last year, they used DNA evidence to identify a suspect who lived near the spot where 4 bodies were found in 2010. He's in police custody and prosecutors are calling him a demon, a predator and a serial killer. Anna Geary has the story.
Rex, did you do it?
59-year-old Rex Hewerman, an architect, now an accused serial killer. Police in Long Island in New York charged this man over the deaths of 3 women, their remains found more than a decade ago.
Rex Hewerman is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
The bodies of Melissa Bartholomew, Amber Costello and Megan Waterman were discovered in 2010 in the Gilgo Beach marsh. They were sex workers, 3 of what is known as the Gilgo 4. Hewerman is also the main suspect in the death of the 4th woman.
The investigation of Maureen Brainerd Barnes is ongoing. For each of the murders, he got an individual burner phone, and he used that to communicate with the victims.
As well as studying Hewerman's phone records, prosecutors matched DNA from hair found on one of the victims to a pizza box he used this year. But families of his alleged victims are critical about how long it's taken to get to this point.
I hope that the federal agencies recognize that these sex trafficking victims are victims and they act much faster than they did in this situation.
Hewerman, a married father of 2, pleaded not guilty to the charges against him. He is in custody and is due back in court next month. Anna Geary, ITV News.
A 17-year-old boy has died after being stabbed in a street in North London. Police say it happened late last night when a fight broke out following a birthday party. 2 other people were injured and taken to hospital. Detectives have launched a murder investigation. Dorset police say no criminal offences were committed in relation to the deaths of 2 young people off Bournemouth Beach in May. Experts have concluded that the movements of a pleasure boat did not contribute to their deaths, and a man who was arrested will face no further action. And the England midfielder Declan Rice officially joined Arsenal today in a deal said to be worth £105 million. West Ham said it had received a British record transfer fee for the 24-year-old. Marketa Vondrousova is the new Wimbledon women's champion after beating her opponent Ons Jabeur in straight sets this afternoon. Vondrousova from the Czech Republic has made history as the first unseeded woman to take the title. Jabeur has now lost 2 finals in a row. Chris Scudder reports from Wimbledon.
So much for summer, not rain this time, but 40-mile-an-hour winds, so blowy they had to shut the centre court roof. Such was the tension on court, they both blew hot and cold. Who could settle their nerves? It was the unseeded Vondrousova, and 4 games in a row brought the first set 6-4.
Jabeur wondering what has just happened.
Jabeur, with the hopes of Africa and the Arabic world on her shoulders, was feeling the weight of expectation. Nothing would go right. With the crowd behind her, she did start to believe.
And it's back on track.
Until the radar went awry again. And 24-year-old Vondrousova was flying through the air like the cat she keeps at home to apply the coup de grace. The girl with the tattoos inking her name into Wimbledon's history books. A year ago, the new champion was here as a tourist, injured and down, but now she was back, the first ever unseeded women's Wimbledon champion.
All of you guys are amazing. You know, my little sister, she's crying out there, so...
In contrast, Jabeur, also beaten in the final here last year, was inconsolable.
I think this is the most painful loss of my career. I don't know, I'm just, it's gonna be a tough day today for me, but I'm not gonna give up, and I'm gonna come back stronger and win the Grand Slam Monday.
At least the sympathy of a princess was some consolation. Yeah, the Brits do love a brave loser. A lot of sympathy for Ons Jabeur. She had the bulk of the support on the centre court today, and it just looked as though she might fight back, but wasn't to be. That's 3 finals in a row she's lost in Grand Slams now, and the Brits disappointed in that. But if they wanted to pick me up today, and what's been a disappointing Wimbledon really for the Brits, 2 doubles titles today for Great Britain. The first of them came in the men's wheelchair. Alfie Hewitt and Gordon Reid, his partner, beating Miki and Oda, the Japanese pair. And also Neil Skupski and his Dutch partner Koolhof have won the men's doubles as well. So a great way to end for Britain.
Chris, thank you. And finally, a plot reminiscent of one of Agatha Christie's novels has played out at the writer's former home in Devon. A large tree fell and blocked the only road to and from Greenway House, trapping dozens of visitors at the National Trust property for 7 hours yesterday. Social media users were quick to spot the possibilities, suggesting the trapped guests stay together and account for any candlesticks that could be used as weapons. But fortunately, there was no mystery for Poirot or Miss Marple to solve, and everyone left safely. That's all for now. I'll be back just before 11. Goodbye for now.